world where equality is just another euphemism for mediocrity, where participation is more highly valued than achievement, where just enough to get by is the new standard of excellence. There is a small minority of people who fight back against such apathy, who struggle daily to reach new heights. These brave few are the hope for the future, the bright shining light for the next generation. They are the ones who will lead us to the places we have never dreamed of, to the undiscovered country, to reach goals only a few can even begin to imagine. Unfortunately, none of those people could be here tonight, so kick back and relax. Prepare yourself for several hours of fun, friendship, fascinating conversation, and fabulous music. All those F's, that's an alliteration and kind of a radio trick. Speaking of radio, you're listening to the most popular radio station in the history of broadcast radio, at least among stations that originate from Chris's living room. It's Curious Times. Your host is Curious Listener. Here she is, Chris.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Curious Times. Thanks for coming. It's Monday, April 24th. Woo! Crazy. And it snowed today. Yes, it did. I tell you. It's not over here. But it kind of is. It's just, cold enough that rain equals snow. And so April showers is more like April flurries for us. And all the same, it's precipitation. It melts and makes water, so it's good for the farmers, good for the trees and the grass and everything like that. So it's all good. Just a quick note that most of you guys are probably aware of is Ali Cheslip passed away, and that's shocking. I as you know, I don't follow Facebook too much, so I wasn't aware that she was ill or in the hospital, and I guess some kind of a heart issue, and so. She was on my show before once, and many people fans of hers, and so gentle journeys to Ali and our list of, I go like, I'm going to sound kind of crazy, but once you get over the shock and the sadness of, people that crossing over, then you're all like, okay, I got another one on the other side. It's like, yeah, I need as much help as I can get over there. So we got any of you guys from the old VTR days who might have known her, and I say this also for those people who listen in archives, because many people do catch the show. Geez, Mary Margaret, I thought you knew every psychic medium on the planet. You know what I mean? Planet. that reminds me of that old Astro clip. Planet. Okay. Anyway, here's what's coming up. We have, of course, Violet Aura tonight. Nick Fox, who I will have to send a reminder to again, is scheduled to be here tomorrow. Kathleen Morris here Wednesday. Jen and Amy are here on Thursday. Friday, of course, is Salvadetan night at Curious Times. This Saturday, Aaliyah, as long as she doesn't forget. And, look at that. I have Colleen coming in on Sunday. I'll have to remind her about that, too. Diana Monroe is a week from tonight. So, solid programming for the next week, unless we have, kerfuffles. Today's show is brought to you by the word kerfuffle. And so there you go. Now Violet is here. I like having Violet because she prepares and then she sends me information about a topic that she wants to cover, and it's very organized, and I really love that. it makes a host's life so much easier, and so it's my good luck to have Violet Aura as a guest here on the show whenever she finds time to join us. She's a psychic services advisor. She's been providing services to people and holistic healing therapy for over 10 years. She's non-denominational ordained minister. She's a certified master of Usui Reiki and a certified crystal healing therapist. She is also has a diploma as a master herbalist, and so she knows a lot about all those kind of things too. She uses the tarot and many other different divination methods, and she has published articles about auras and the collective mind, spiritual and holistic alchemy, and other meaningful matters of the heart. So she also writes. She's training to extend her practice to offer certified end-of-life care services. I always remember when Amy was doing a lot of that. I'm like, you just call yourself a death coach. You know, we have people that are life coaches. Call yourself a death coach. But that's a very much nicer way to put it. End-of-life care programs for hospices. And anyway, you can find out everything else that you want to know and then some by contacting Violet either at her website, www.violetaura.com. Twitter is she's at Violet Aura. And they're in the show page. Let me just get to the proper I think that there might be other Instagram.com/Violet Aura photo, and then Facebook is psychic.Violet Aura, and violetaura.com. I'm sure that if you get there, you can go anywhere. Okay, you can probably find links on her website to every other place where you can find her. So let's just bring her on. Hi, Violet. How you doing?
Hello, Chris. Oh, my gosh. It's good to talk to you. It's been a while.
It has. Nice to have you back. And as I said before, I really enjoy it because you do all the work.
I'm so glad. I try to make it easy. I try. And it makes it easier for me, too, because I just send it out and we just confirm and we're done. I know everything will be handled at your end, so I love it. Thank you.
Friendly guest, and we love that. Again, I want to encourage any... Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I want to just encourage anybody listening, to jump in on our conversation and ask questions about the topic or make comments or anything like that. It's fine too. You don't have to just call for readings. And later on, if there is anybody who wants to talk about any kind of medical issues or anything like that, then we can definitely take those kind of calls as well. So catch us up. What's been going on? How you been doing?
Not too bad. There's you know what? Tomorrow's the new moon. We've just entered the month of Taurus, and so it should be, knock on wood, just a nice roll through of this week to the end of the week with little drama, just forging forward with clearly, not a lot of obstacles, hopefully. And then the next week we get out of Mercury retrograde. In case you didn't know, we were in it, and we're having some technical issues or otherwise. So we get out of that on May 3rd, and this is a nice time actually right now because we're getting into that mode where there's a lot of liberty coming out of potential drama and all of that stuff. So I'm looking forward to this week for sure. That, and you mentioned, Chris, death coach, which is an interesting term. I had never thought about, I guess, phrasing it that way. Mainly the way that it's phrased is end-of-life doula. So we have, birth doulas or just doula, midwife doulas who bring the babies into the world. And then we have end-of-life doulas, which is like the type of work that I'm looking to get into for a little bit. And it is holding vigil for people who are ready to cross over. And and support for the families. There's a lot of stuff goes on that goes on at a time like that, and it's so needed, I think, because we don't talk about that stuff. We talk about being in a state of unhealth for long, like not being healthy or ready to go, and we don't know how to cope with that or transition into that with peace. So I think it's a very needed, sorely needed thing for people to look into. It's certainly a calling, I'll say that.
And then depending, because, then it can become all kinds of things. It can be just hand-holding, or doing whatever, supporting the family, playing their favorite music, all those kind of traditional things that, that can happen. But depending upon, a person, where a person's own spirituality is, the patient, let's call it, client, or the client's family, is, it can branch out to so much more because, I had a guest on a few years back that, talked about some big revelation. He had experienced almost like a sleep paralysis. When he woke up, he was like paralyzed. So he was like a sleep paralysis kind of a thing, And during this period of time, he claims that he downloaded all of this information and blah, blah, blah. But one really interesting thing that he said is that, and it made a little bit of sense because I've heard it said and whatnot, and then we have like the Hall of Records or the
Akashic Records. Mm-hmm.
The Akashic Records and things like this, and which various people have a different spin on all of that. But it's to be said that all thoughts, all things said, ever will be said, are out there in the universe for the taking. And channelers often are channeling this information. When a person crosses over, this guy maintained that, let's say that I die a very angry, bitter person, whatever, all of this negative thoughts of mine escape into the universe. And so what he's talking about is if the people can come to some peace before they die, less junk and garbage is going to be littered out upon death. And that was kind of an interesting way of looking at it. But, I think that nothing bad could come from coaching somebody through, any of these things that they might be holding on to as they near the end, and how much better it would be for them and their soul, theoretically, to try and come to terms with that, release what they can. What do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. And it's not just for the person that is going to be transitioning. It's also for their loved ones and family to come to peace. I think part of the most difficult part for a person who is, ready to cross over is the thought of the pain that it's going to leave people behind with. And so there's a lot of reconciling to do. First of all, from the psychological aspect of the person that's leaving, there can be fear, there can be agitation, there can be just like lucidness because they're under the influence of pain medication or whatever. There's so many different factors going on and so many different dynamics within a family and all these different relationships, and trying to just really quiet all of that down, I think is so essential to being able to understand like how to come to peace or where that peace is going to come from, and bringing it forth so that we have an experience that's more beautiful and peaceful than something that's very heavy and emotionally draining. And it's not to say that won't happen after the fact. We still have our stages of grieving and whatnot, but the experience itself can be created to support memories that that we can go to and think fondly of, versus like, God, I wish I would have been more like this, or could. All of the woulda, coulda, shouldas, are in a better place, so to speak. So very, very important work, and that's an interesting revelation or concept or idea, or I don't know what to call it, that he brought up about, the energy, I guess, dispersing out into the universe in such a way. Something to contemplate.
Right, and I mean, we talk about, let's don't wait until we're about to die either, though, right? Like, if we have stuff, it's in a way, it's a little bit like spring cleaning, right? Like declutter yourself too would help you now, and can do no harm whatsoever, and lighten your load quite a bit emotionally and spiritually, I feel. But yeah, if we can transmute some stuff and not put toxic waste out into the universe upon our departure, then that would be a good thing.
Yeah, always a good idea, because you're leaving something behind for someone else, and let it be good. Let it be good.
So you have an interesting topic, and it's timely in a way, because we hear this term every day now: fake news, and mostly that's related to politics and everything like this. And so there's a whole other area where we get bombarded with a lot of fake information and news, isn't there?
Yes. Especially in the metaphysical community and the natural healing and holistic community, there's a lot of faith-based workings that people are putting faith into. Crystal healing is one of them, for example. Reiki, stuff like that. So we're putting our faith into healing through these modalities, which aren't, backed by science for the most part. I can't say, totally. There's something out there that says it works in some, in some way, but nothing, nothing that says it's completely true. And while you or I might believe that it works and that there's just nothing documented to say to the whole world, this absolutely works as a treatment. But, that said, this whole market right now of supplements and crystals and, you name it, it's $1 billion industry. And it doesn't take much to say to someone who believes or is using their faith to actually believe without some further investigation as to how something works or why or how it interacts in their environment, being their body or their surroundings or whatnot. We just believe because we trust, and that's a good thing. And it's also a good thing to do some investigating. So there's a lot of information out there. Some of it is only half true. Some of it is old science that hasn't been updated. It's just floating around, and it's getting more and more difficult to discern, what is updated, what is true, thoroughly, or is this only partially true now, or, just kind of getting a feel for, what is actually real these days for healing.
Well, let's face it, even in the traditional pharmaceutical market, this is very bad, and there's a lot of junk going around in there as well. And all of the studies that they've done with placebos and things like this, in many ways kind of proves the power of the mind, you know what I mean? And the condition of where, and so that frequently, if you feel that something's going to work for you and you believe that it's going to work for you, there's a good chance it's going to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the same can go with just about every area. And there's also, in the pharmaceutical industry, in the traditional medical community, treatments that work for some and don't work for others. And so that it should, of course, follow that in any kind of metaphysical healing environment or natural path, any of the supplements and all this, any of those other methods could work for some and not work for others, right? Doesn't that make sense?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. And so, one thing that we also have in this mix of this is said to work, this is said to work is like we have, oh my gosh, I have this going on with, with a fever or something like that. You ask on Facebook, what do I do for a fever? And 30 people will be talking about 30 different herbs or agreeing with 20 different herbs that 30 people agree, and how true is it that there are all of these different ones? Which one's going to work? What is not even real, but somebody heard about and they think it's real and they're posting about it? How do we even filter that out? It's kind of insane. So today's show is hopefully going to help with getting that sorted and put some order to the chaos that is this flood of information that we don't know how to process. And on top of that, we have news outlets. I'm going to name one actually. I'm going to out this one. It's Natural News. That they will purposefully post half-truths some of the time, and then another part of the time, something that's based on something that has absolutely nothing to do with how an herb or a supplement or whatever even interacts with the body according to science. So that is an aggravation right there. I mean, they are, I mention and I out them because they are listed on multiple resources that I trust as dishing out fake news. And but people still forward and post this stuff.
Crazy. And I've said, and so here's what because then we go okay, what do you trust? Who do you trust? Blah, blah, blah. I'm not trying to say, first of all, I didn't feel good about this guy, about the way they put stuff out there in the first place. Secondly is that when I started to be suspicious about them and their motives, I started to look a little bit more into, whenever they're advocating for a certain thing or whatever, and it's really all of these products where they trick you into signing up, and you think you're getting this great deal, and then before you know it, in the small print, you've signed up for $200 every month for the thing to be sent to you every month, and that's if they're going to use deceptive marketing, and they're definitely raking in money by doing this, you know what I mean? Then I think it was Corrine that I said, I don't trust that site at all. I don't even look at it. I took them off my email list. I don't even want to see the crap they're putting out. And there's definitely a dollar purpose driving so much of what they do. And again, the same can be said with doctors, right? They'll push a certain medication or a certain treatment because they're probably getting a kickback or whatever, and so
right.
A trust thing,
Mm-hmm. And the worst part of it is that they're using the buzzwords that we've come to know and trust, like Natural News, is actually using a name that we would trust just based on the name. It's something that, is a lifestyle for a lot of people. It's something that they're interested in learning more about. And so you think that this is a site that's going to have your best interest in mind, and they don't. And that's kind of, that's kind of scary. When people are drawn to a more natural-based solution, they tend to be more liberally minded in that. They're more trusting, they're more open-minded to different solutions. And so when a site like that comes along, it's awful. It's so awful. It's so damaging, and it's dangerous. It's dangerous to people.
Yeah. Same with real doctors. Like all of this stuff has parallels in no matter which area. And I used to talk about even spiritual teachers. Who do you trust? Who don't you trust? Well, if it's their way or the highway, I jump off. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to be open to that. There's going to be different methods, different answers for different people. And same could be said for any kind of medical practitioner, is that, if they're not open to some other idea that you bring them, but to even discuss it with you, and they just want to push them pills, then I think you need to try to not easy to find doctors that will work with you.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's one thing that we really need to consider is, like, when anybody is teaching you, including myself, and I do this as best as I can, hopefully, is that, whether it's religion or whether it's your medical doctor or naturopathic doctor or whomever, that they're not just dispensing to you what the fix is or how it's, what they're going to tell you is more than that. They're going to teach you. They're going to teach you more than just how to take the medication. You know what I mean? So that's like kind of like one of the ways that that you are an interest that they want to make healthier or help to improve, that they're going to teach you instead of telling you how something works or how something functions, or, just something more than, here, take this and take this much and take it this often for this long, and that's it.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I had a time even with the doctor like that. I had a bad knee, and I had fallen on this knee, and so what had happened is that I got a whole bunch of fluid on the knee and everything like this, and so I went to the doctor, and because I did a very physically demanding job, and so I needed to have a note because I was unable to work for a few days till the thing settled down. And she did not even look at my knee, and she wrote me a note. You know what I mean? Did not even look at the knee. Didn't look at the knee. Now, a lot of people would be okay with that because they got their doctor's note and they don't have to go to work and they're going to get paid sick pay. But like that bothered me a lot, And and so with anything, we really need to be careful with who we're trusting our own wellness to. And so now, what kind of So now let's move over to like the big thing these days is remedies, home remedies, natural remedies, because more and more people are being leery of the medical community, pharmaceutical community, and so what should people be on guard for in terms of the kind of stuff they're reading and general statements that are being made about for the good and for the bad, because there's both sides of it, right? False claims are something that's good, which isn't good for you at all, and might contradict with something else. But also, sometimes have alerts going out that you can't use this. Remember when the big thing of the day was coconut oil? Stay away from coconut oil. It's hot.
Oh goodness, yeah. Well, let me address this first really quickly, Chris. It's why do people turn to healing that goes outside of what science reports as being effective, right? So studies and research studies, in a lot of cases, they're funded by entities with special interest. So, Big Pharma isn't going to like that coconut oil is making a big grand introduction to millions of dollars in sales because it takes from them. So, the special interest is a thing. And the results of studies will show inconsistencies between similar studies. That's a thing that we need to be looking at. That the control groups or the group samples are very small, and fairly recently, like when we hear about these like studies, they're like 30 people, 50 people or something like that, and that's a little, ridiculous. And so, in a lot of published studies lately, the study isn't even using double-blind control groups. The study periods are short. And then miraculously, the results of these studies favor medications that have a bazillion side effects that are more dangerous than the actual, treatment they're prescribing. And I'm for science if it's real science. But a lot of what is going on lately in the health industry, both in the medical pharmaceutical industry and the natural supplement industry, is all pay to win. So, who can pay who to skew results in their favor to make sales, and that's causing people to take matters into their own hands. And so, that's where things are getting, it's getting really, really, dangerous. And so, who do we believe and who do we not believe? And, the general blanket statements are coming from, okay, I read this about this, and I've read that it worked, and so you can try this. And I know that it is like nothing but like the best intention when that stuff is said. And like I said, someone can say they have, they have a fever, and like a bunch of people will say, here's how to fix it, and there'll be 30 different like natural home remedies. And without understanding how to give that information, I guess, I don't quite know how to put it, but without giving information other than here's what I did, that can be dangerous sometimes. And what I mean by that is if someone's asking about, what's a great tea for detoxing, for example, someone might say something like, hey, dandelion root is amazing, and it does this and this and this, but what the person is saying that they probably don't know when they give that information is that the person that asked, what if they're diabetic? And dandelion root is contraindicated to be taken with some diabetic medications like metformin. And people don't know that. And it's not available on the Internet. Like, I could not really find that on the Internet until I did a really broad, deep search. And the reason that I know it is because I have actual, medical books that tell me that. I have medical, that's my thing. So I have those on me, and that information isn't available. And so that in itself is it blows my mind because it's to the point now where these pharmaceuticals that people are being prescribed are interacting negatively with just food, just regular food. And you don't want to be in that position to be worried about is what I'm eating actually interfering with my medication. And the same goes for making general statements about supplements like chromium picoline. It was a big one for a long time, and people who are taking thyroid medication or people who are obese. That is not good for people with those conditions generally, or taking medication to fix that. It's a whole crazy, it's a bunch of chaos right now, and so there needs to be some semblance and order to it,
Yeah, for sure. Well, even something as simple when people, they get upper respiratory infections and things like this, and I'm like, oh, it's become a joke around here because I'm always like, horseradish, but then I go away. But if you have a active thyroid, you cannot have horseradish. You know what I mean? And I also will only talk about those kinds of things that I've tried and have worked for me. I can't promise they'll work for somebody else, but I know a lot of people, they just read stuff and they just they throw it out there. You know what I mean? They don't have any knowing about how it works or if it works or anything else like that. And everybody should always,
right. And like,
you know.
And like I said, I think that the information is being shared with the best intentions to be helpful, and it can be even more helpful if you just remind the person that you're telling this, hey, if you're taking like a prescription for anything, just check up on that and see if it's okay for you to take, or just something a little extra, that because the person that you're telling now may not have heard this program. They may not know that a supplement can interfere with their pharmaceutical prescription. And so just that extra little reminder, you want to check if this might interfere or something like that, can be just so helpful towards averting someone to feel, out of feeling, worse or having their medication interrupted. And their medication is actually working. So, the bad thing is too, in some cases, is that your doctor or your pharmacist may not even know. The herbalists, there aren't a lot of herbalists like me, first of all, that manage to know adjuncts and contraindications. A lot of it is like, how do I put this together? How does this work with these parts of the body, and how does this, what constituents does this have, or benefits for, they talk about the benefits a lot, and the stuff is super beneficial, of course, but we also have to make some room and some time to understand that, and that information is not widely available. So like I said, even your doctor or pharmacist might not know. You have to do some real digging when you ask about your medications and what food will interact, or something like that.
Right. So what kind of blanket statements should people be on the lookout for that would set it up?
Just like I said earlier, like if someone says like just something general, hey, dandelion root is amazing, or this works great for mood swings, or just something just really general, and it's even if it's common, there's a likely chance that it's going to interact with something if you're taking a medication. So a blanket statement without knowing if the person that's asking is taking a prescribed medication or has some kind of condition, that can cause more problems than it solves. So like I said, just to add that little bit of information is helpful. Hey, if you have a condition, if you're taking something prescribed by a doctor, just check on it. And so we want to be doing that as best we can.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
What about that? Hi. What about that CBD that they're talking about? It's supposed to be good for the arthritis and all that.
For all kinds of stuff. What do you know or think about the CBD stuff, Violet?
I don't know offhand what is in it, but I know that arthritis is an inflammation and what can trigger and aggravate that inflammation. One of those things is animal protein. So reducing animal protein and adding something into the system like potassium through something like coconut water, for example, staying away from caffeine, stuff like that, will certainly help. I don't know the severity of an arthritic condition to, be doing any kind of big workup or anything, but if what you mentioned doesn't have something in it that is clearly stated to work as an anti-inflammatory, then it's probably not very good at all. I mean, it's a condition that's based on exactly that. So, just by logic and how it works, and to counteract that, then we want to make sure that it doesn't have some kind of thing that's going to trigger more inflammation. You want to stay away from stuff that's going to trigger the inflammation, and then make sure that that everything just kind of falls in line to the logic of how the disease is triggered and aggravated, and is what is listed as the ingredients known to counteract that, or is it just something like proprietary and weird that they want to throw out at you that says that it's standardized with this and that, but they don't tell you what it does. So thank you for asking the question. Yeah, I wish I could answer specifically to that one, but I don't know that actual product. Just that, based on what I said, those are things to look for, and that'll probably be helpful for determining whether or not the product is good.
They're saying it's good for like cancer and that CBD oil. You know what I mean? And which is like a hemp thing, not a pot thing. No THC, but the healthy stuff in a hemp plant, I guess. And
some oils are known to reduce inflammation, and some oils can aggravate inflammation. I'm going to just say in general that probably because it's being marketed the way it is, that it doesn't aggravate the situation. But whether or not it really helps it is another story. Hemp has a lot of benefits. I mean, I can't think of something. Oh, here we go. Okay. For someone who has diabetes, hemp oil may raise your omega-6. Where you need omega-3s, it may raise your omega-6 and throw all of your balance of omega-3 and omega-6 out of balance. So that is something also to take into account, is if you're taking something that's potentially high in over time for omega-6, that can potentially be something. There's also, if you're taking a statin, such as, oh gosh, I can't think of the name, but if you're taking something that's going to lower your cholesterol, or that they say is going to lower your cholesterol, that could interfere with that too. I already know this because hemp, when you mention hemp, I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, the omega-6 factor in that, even if they try to balance it or tell you to balance it, that can interfere with some stuff. Now, generally it is like something that will help soothe inflammation, but also just be careful if you're diabetic, or if you have anything that's going to set off alarms for having too much omega-6, or that handles any heart function. You'll want to definitely look into how that might interact, or what you need to do to balance it if it's okay to take it.
Am I still here? Or did I get cut off?
I'm here.
Okay, good. I went absolutely quiet in my nothing. I'm like, oh, did I get disconnected? There's Mercury, and anyway, I'm not going to talk. Just the other thing I wanted to say about the CBD oil, listen, there's some things that are really great, and now then you have the situation of whose brand product is it, and so that there's always going to be producers out there that cut corners, that don't put as much of this in or that in or whatever, and they're watering it down, and so even if something by a general name CBD would be useful for something, now you have to be careful of whose product you're buying, and if you're
well, here's something interesting. Chris, because when I buy supplements, I do the best I can to locate one that says that it's vegan, and for a few reasons. That there's nothing weird or unknown going into it, and like in a case where you're using this for arthritis, say the gelatin, so like a gelatin capsules or the gelatin in the capsules or whatever, is animal based. And so if you're working with something that you want to avoid, like arthritis, for example, if you are reducing your animal protein, then you don't want to add something that's made with an animal product to something that's supposed to be, doing the opposite and relieving, the triggers. And so in an amount that is that small, it's probably negligible, likely negligible a lot of the time. But if you can, things compound throughout the day. And so if you can just remove that one little tiny bit, then that can, be just as helpful. So sometimes there's like contradicting things going on where, hey, this is going to reduce this, but hey, this product in it can actually help trigger it, then that's something too. That and, the whole thing with standardization and, I think that's kind of where you were going with the, who's sourcing it and.
Yeah, I mean, is there any real level of the helpful, thing in the product that you're buying, and is somebody just slapping a label on something because it's become a fad and charging an excessive amount of money for it? So if you're really going to go the CBD route, anybody, then I would encourage you to do as much research as you can in terms of what levels of CBD are actually in that oil, as an example, and make sure parts per million or whatever, however they express that, because you want to make sure that if you are going to go that route, that you're actually getting something that's not just an oil, nothing in it. So now we all have a responsibility to contribute to the not passing on of fake information, Violet. And so, and it, as it relates to, say, fake news, okay? I'm not one that will forward on and repost or share all of this stuff. And sometimes I get my spidey senses go off on something. So, late last year there was this big story that went out. Oh, Hillary Clinton, another person involved with the Hillary Clinton thing is dead now in a tragic car accident, and that's 9 people now, or whatever it was,
Conspiracy theories and coincidental incidences and things being connected where it's really a stretch, and stuff like that.
What I'm trying to say, so I took the picture that was attached to the story, and I threw it through the TinEye program, and you can also use Google Images. And what it does is it'll show you anywhere else on the internet where that picture is. Well, the picture that they were attaching to that story was of a legitimate car accident, but the car accident happened years ago in Canada, had nothing to do with anything that happened, I came across another story where they were saying, oh, this guy raped somebody, blah, 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 and they're showing this picture with the story, and so the story has a certain person's name in it, but then the picture, I run through the thing, I come to find it's not at all. So when I find those inaccuracies, I'll go post to the person's thing and say, you know what?
I definitely. Yep.
You got to correct the record on stuff like this, because so I'm taking a step in A, not only do I not forward on crap like this, but B, if I can find something that debunks it entirely, I'll post it right on the person's. And if I can trace it back to whoever was the main, like the first poster, I'll do it, everywhere I find it, basically. And so
I do the same. And I don't mean to even be the correction police, like the news correction police, but sometimes it just really is like necessary. It's like have to put out that fire because it's really hurtful to just reality,
Yeah, exactly. And so similarly, if we be careful, you guys, like, you think like everybody's motives are pure. You come across something and it seems to make sense to you, and oh my goodness, what a simple thing this is. I'm gonna share it to all my people.
Right.
Stop yourself before you do it, because if you don't know that that's actually true, don't do that, or at least put a huge all caps that says, I don't know about the validity of this, but I found this to be interesting. Does anybody have any comments? But I say don't even share it unless you know it to be good information.
And that is one of the best ways we can stop perpetuating the bad info and start promoting the good info. And, critical thinking, it's such an old term and thing we did in school, critical thinking. But it's so true, and especially now. And things are coming to light about how to think more broadly than that this is this and I can look at this. But to investigate further, you have to ask who's benefiting when you send that information out. Of course, the company producing, the story or whatever is going to benefit, but you can also determine if that company has your best interest in mind by, investigating them a little bit further and getting a better, better context about why they're presenting this information in the first place. Because news isn't news. They have to have a reason for it. And so understand the reason for it and where it's coming from and why. You don't have to have all of those answers, but just investigate with a feel like, does this company really have my best interest in mind when they're sharing this? We have, right now, there was a big thing in the news about diet sodas linked to Alzheimer's and dementia. That was pretty huge, I think, a couple of days ago, and I was investigating this, and the results came as like a byproduct of another study they were doing, and this caught my attention because it was a large study. This is like 3,000 people, and so in the way that my critical thinking process works is that where was this study done? Was this only here in the United States? Was it in North America? Would the same results happen with people who are on a different diet, say living in the UK? Now, the study was not a blanket statement really. It said that, diet soda. But we're assuming based on that article, that it's based on the natural sweeteners. Now, there's I think 5 or 6 different kinds that they use in diet soda, and none of them were specifically named, but they think it might have to do with that. And there was no mention that, as far as I saw, that, hey, it could be one of the food colorings. It could be interacting with something that we have going on in our environment in North America, or our food, because our food has different things in it that aren't legal to have in other in other countries. So there's a whole range of factors to think about with this very important information that even came with a large study group. That needs to kind of make sense, because they said that diet sodas cause this, but they didn't say why or how, and now people might think that it's the diet soda, and it may not even be the case. It may be, but there's reason to believe that it may not be too, So we have to really think a lot further out than just, this does this and this does this. There are real regional and cultural differences that affect the results of these studies just as well.
And gender. For how many years, and still to this day, often, at least this is what I've read, so many of the studies done are on men. And, like, they're not taking into account women and doing a fair assessment on, like, there could be some treatment, medication, or whatever that's great for men but harmful for women, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And they're relying on results that they get from studies on men and applying it to women, and that can be dangerous as well. So there's just so many things that when people talk about I don't want to go down to the Corrine, settle yourself down, okay? I'm not going down the road of this argument, but when we're talking about like immunizations and things like this, okay, some people have a bad effect from it, and many people don't. And I fail to see. Now, I personally don't do immunizations or anything like that myself. You know what I mean? But that's because I'm afraid of needles. But
the whole vaccination and anti-vaxxer thing is fascinating to me, and I'll say this, and I don't want to go down that road either, believe me, but the anti-vaxxers are so demonized in the news. It's like the people who hate anti-vaxxers don't understand why they're against it. And if you listen to why from a person who's, has a sound mind and isn't fanatical or a zealot or something like that, then the story makes sense. And whether or not I agree, there's parts of it that make sense. Okay.
Right.
And yet in the news there's just this complete hatred of this group that's saying, hey, there's some valid reasons why we're not doing this. Why aren't you listening? This is not about like science and wanting people to to bring more disease into the world. It's the methods that are being employed to force upon a society this way of way of prevention. And is it safe? And is it, and this is also coming from groups of people who don't even understand how the human body works and how it interacts with these things. And it's just convoluted. the convoluted nature and just the hatred and the back and forth over just that one topic is amazing. And like I said, I absolutely, I'm middle of the road with this because it makes sense. It makes sense on both sides. I absolutely agree. And there doesn't have to be this level of vitriol going out for one group who's trying to say, listen to this.
Wait, can you hear it? Wait, because I was trying to take this somewhere else, but I'm going to address on that too. Both sides are very polarized. They're both extreme. So the people that are opposed to vaccinations are every bit as aggressive and angry.
Oh, of course. Of course. It's and there's a lot about the media that's really like fueling it too. And that's so unfortunate because we need to find a middle ground. There's a way to do this to keep everybody safe and investigate, further, because there are claims that aren't, and there's enough worry and mistrust that it isn't safe, that we need to address this. And being, if it's true, great. And if it's not, then we get something fixed. But this polarization is awful, and it's dangerous. We talk about like all of these dangers going on in this stew of confusion that the media is really sending out. It's pretty bad. So you have to keep your head together and investigate some stuff on your own.
Yeah. Okay, can you guys hear me? Because I think I was not being heard or something. So I just want to finish my train of thought because I will lose it. Where I was wanting to go with that whole thing was that if some people have a bad reaction to an immunization, doesn't always going to mean that there's something wrong with the immunization. And one of the examples I give is penicillin. There's some people that are allergic to penicillin and they have an adverse reaction up to and including death, but that doesn't mean that penicillin is bogus and shouldn't be used. And so all I'm saying is, I want to emphasize, I don't do vaccinations. I'm not trying to push vaccinations as anything at all. What I am trying to say, though, is that you have to take into consideration how many bad reactions are there versus helpful. How many people is it actually helping? And so I don't think there's some people that just any vaccination is bad. And then you see that's part of the fake thing too, which is that people get it in their mind, any vaccination's bad, no, and yet maybe in some cases a vaccination would be much more helpful to that person. And so I don't have the answers to it, but again, you gotta go a little bit deeper than the rhetoric that's out there on either side of it.
Yes, please. Having an open mind, it adds to the safety of anything because, whether in a case like that, whether or not it's true, like I said, there's a group of people who have very serious concerns to the degree that they aren't getting vaccinated. Why is that? We need to investigate this because it affects the population. So why is there such a reluctance? That's my question. And so, yeah, when we get down to this sort of stuff, working together is always, most helpful. And this vitriol is just not productive, really. But, it would be wonderful if, if one side or the other would say, hey, why don't we settle this once and for all and investigate this for sure? Is it good or bad, or is it inconclusive? But there's nothing that I know of that's being done to truly, honestly investigate, the claims on, So that's kind of where people are deadlocked right now, which is unfortunate.
Again, it's follow the money and everything, and again, like you said earlier, same can be said in medical opinions. So for insurance claims and things like this, whoever's paying pays for the answer that they want, and this doesn't necessarily mean that it's the true medical answer on a particular person's medical condition. And so.
So here's the scary thing that I'm going to reveal. When doctors go through med school, when veterinarians go through veterinary training, their professors, their people that come in to help teach them about these conditions are from big pharma, okay, or big pet food, whatever, whichever branch it's in. So what the doctors are learning while they're going through their training for treatment and stuff like that is the perspective of how this medication works to fix something, that the body works in this way to interact with this kind of medication. And so they're locked into this belief right from the beginning that this is going to fix this because it works like this, which is true for their medication, and they'll get different perspectives from different pharmaceutical companies that come in or who have ties or get kickbacks or whatever to go speak for them, for these doctors or whatever. And it's just this rolling perpetual belief system that we get locked into. So here, in the United States, for example, we're so locked into believing how certain things work. And as we're getting to a point where we're learning how the human body functions, through the like holistic communities and holistic education and stuff like that, we're starting to question, what are you guys thinking? And it's not any doctor's fault. It's not any veterinarian's fault. It's because that's what they were taught. It's the way that they were taught. And so in that confine and not going outside of it, that's what we have. The result of our medical system here in the United States is that our doctors are trained by Big Pharma, unless they've gone to a naturopathy, a school for naturopathy where they kind of abandon that for a bit, but they do address it. Is that all of these trainers are from Big Pharma. And that's what we get when we go to our doctors, is this is what they know. And so when you ask, you're like, why can't they tell me how to heal this? It's not that they don't know. It's not that they weren't taught. It's that the focus on how to fix an issue is based on how they understand a medication to work with our system instead of how something else can. So they're not shown the contrast or the comparison of what else is possible. It's just like, this is how our system works. And that's the unfortunate, sad part about that. And so one of the best things you can do is arm yourself with the knowledge of how the body's physiology just interacts with its systems and environments and stuff like that.
I mean, I remember back in the day, for years, this isn't just around medications or anything. Remember when, don't go to a chiropractor because they'll paralyze, and there is a place for chiropractors, you know what I mean? And what this boils down to is each situation needs to be dealt with on its own merit. And each patient needs to be dealt with uniquely and with their own set of unique circumstances.
That is the basis. That's the basis of holistic healing, and it's the very first thing that I learned going into my courses to learn about herbalism and alternative medicine was exactly that every person is an individual with individual needs, and that their condition is always going to be different, even if it has the same name for another person. If it's arthritis, my arthritis is different than somebody else's, always. And to approach things, that way. And unfortunately, our doctors here can't speak to that. We try to, generalize everything with we even generalize our vitamins. They're standardized for a person who, the dosages of our multivitamins are standardized for a person who has a certain height and weight and probably eats a certain diet, So we try to generalize to help, and it's not always the optimal way. It's maybe a good way or better than nothing, but it's not the most optimal way. And that's really what we're looking for in the holistic and alternative medicine field. That's kind of what we're aiming for. And exactly like you were saying, you're an individual.
Well, listen, let's take a song break. And if anybody has questions about the topic, any questions about your own situations or anything like that, or you have a specific question reading-wise that you want to ask, get in the queue and we'll try our best to. Well, I shouldn't say we. Violet will try her best to help you out. And let me see, what should I play? Let's play. Oh, here, I love this song. Alright then. So we are back, and we have Violet Ora with us, and I'm going to do a quick shout out for you guys. Amy is, my computer's freezing on me. Amy's there, Boo Boo is there, Christy, Dan, Lauren, hi Margie, long time no see. Mary Margaret. Hi, Mike. How are you? Raul, how are you? Of course, our guest is Violet. Corrine is there. And Sandy, Wildflower Wind. So, you guys that are there, I don't know if you're listening or if you have a question. So, if you want to come on and ask something, Raul, do you want to push one on your phone, Raul? Because I'm gonna assume for sure you want to talk to us. Push one on your phone, Raul. Hi,
just
Raul.
one. Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Doing great. I missed the first hour, so I'm sorry. I come on.
Oh, wow, you'll have to stay after class then.
Yeah, we'll do. No problem.
So how's it going? What's up? What can we do for you?
You know, I was one of my passions is actually to become. I'm 47 years old. Is become a holistic coach. I know I have a passion for counseling and nutrition, and I need to work on myself a little bit, like in the physical part of my body. And so I kind of caught a little bit of what you were talking about earlier. But I'm also a little curious if I can ask you a health-related question in regards to my skin.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Sure. I'll do what I can.
Okay. It would if you.
And I just want to let me preface this really quick first. That
yeah.
I will do everything I can based on not having any books or references in front of me. There are so many combinations of foods, supplements, medications that can be, combined, and then individual, personal, circumstances or situations that are maybe they're too personal to be, put on the air in a lot of cases. So I'll do what I can with the information that I have, and that there are just a bazillion combinations of what can be done for any situation, or just like if you name something specific, I'd have to like do the workup on it. But I will do everything I can to get an answer for you.
Yeah, thank you. No, I understand. I mean, it's gonna be difficult, but I have this eczema in my hands. It's like basically my hands, they crack, and they like I get a little wounds. It's like a little cut, and they open and they close. It's really annoying. I've had it for almost a year and a half. And I use some lotions. I use some neem. I use a few things, but it's not going away.
Okay. Sometimes that's based on a type of hormonal dysfunction. Have you had that checked by chance?
No.
Okay, so it may be something to have either, I don't know, like just have a blood work done that includes, a panel for like testosterone and like thyroid, a full thyroid panel, to see if there's something there. It could, in a lot of cases too, it could be, just like a blood sugar issue or something like that. If you're not feeling that it could possibly be like a pre-diabetic situation or something with blood sugar or anything of that nature, then have the hormonal panel with are you in the United States? Do you mind if I ask?
Yeah.
Okay, so in a lot of places in the United States, they'll do a hormone panel, and to do a testosterone check, you have to specifically say, and you also have to probably specifically say a full hormone panel or a full thyroid panel, and I mean you have to be very specific with what you want, or they just kind of give you the general. Here we'll run your cholesterol and stuff like that. So yeah, be very specific with that. Aside from that, the more general answer is to make sure that you stay hydrated. Electrolytes are important. It's not really just about drinking water and minimizing something like coffee or something that's going or caffeine that's going to dehydrate you. But there's a possibility that you're missing something a little extra in your electrolytes, like potassium, where if you drink coconut water, for example, for like a little more regularly, that might help to alleviate it. And then, there are things that can be environmental too. So you have to kind of like, I'm sure you've done this, or to some degree, like try to eliminate like the environmental factors, which means do you have like is your house very dusty, for example, where the dust could be triggering this condition, or environmental internally, where it's it could be a hormonal issue or a blood sugar issue or something like that. So you want to kind of knock those things out, and then and that'll be, I guess, the way to start to figure out what's going on. You really want to follow through with that, because later down the road, the healing could take longer. So it's not something to ignore. There's certainly an issue that needs to be addressed. So do what you can to eliminate the factors that are external, and then go get some stuff done that will help you figure out maybe what's going on internally.
Great, that's awesome. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Yeah, yes. So is that okay if I a little bit of your intuition, your intuitive
sure. I have to switch modes here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not? Yeah. No, I was just thinking if you can somehow read a little bit of my energy, what's happening with whether there's the aura or what do I need to work on, or if you see anything coming up in the near future, like 2-3 months, if I need to do anything in particular.
Okay. What area of life has your eye right now to be working on? Is it like, obviously we're talking about more like physical related stuff, but is there something like more
my work
specific,
situation is what I'm putting all my focus on. I apply for a few jobs, and I would like to switch jobs.
Okay. There's a new job coming for you. Yay, good news.
Nice.
It's connected to the number 3. So this will be coming to you within 3 months, 3 weeks, something in the range of there's a 3 in it, 30 days even possibly. So keep an eye on for that. I feel like the agreements are going to be made between more than you and like there's going to be another person involved. Like there's going to be 3 of you together making this agreement or coming aboard to, work together or something of that nature. So it's going to be something that's going to be like celebrated, like they really, really need you or they really, really like you. And it's just like a really good feeling between everybody. You're going to be tuning into.
You have no idea how much I really want that.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm very happy to read that for you. Sometimes it's just like a little, okay, yeah, you have a job coming and it'll do the thing. But no, this one actually really looks like there's a good connection between all parties, and that you'll be learning new things. That it'll be just. I want to say that there's an aspect of mutual care, in the sense that like you're going to feel like you're being taken care of, and in turn you are going to be taking care of what you need to be taken care of, not because it's your job, but because it's reciprocating really well. So yeah, so very, very super happy.
That sounds so great. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always happy to read news like that for someone. So I appreciate you asking. Thank you very much.
Yes, of course, of course. Do you see me moving at all? Moving out of my house?
Moving?
Selling, renting.
The stars tell me. The stars tell me you're going to have to come into a windfall of money to be able to do that. So I'm not seeing like the big move that you're desiring coming exactly like very soon. But I do see some, the good news is that I see some money, like new money coming in for you, that you're going to be very happy in that situation, and that could prompt a move. But I'm not seeing like in the things that are in motion right now, it's not looking like it's leading to that right now. Like after you have been in your job for a little bit, that time, that I want to say that past work may change, but it's not appearing right now.
Oh, nice. I've taken a lot of your time, so I really want to thank you for that great news and then the advice
You're welcome.
on the health situation.
Okay, good luck. I would love an update when that comes through.
Yes. I'll hang out in this space every once in a while. So, Chris, thank you very much. Always.
Hey, Raul, take it easy, eh?
Yeah, I will. Always. Thank you.
Peace out. Okay. What are you saying, Mary Margaret? Okay. Are you, Mary Margaret, are you coming on? Or, Mary Margaret, I think you dropped.
So, Chris,
Here I am.
Go ahead, Mary Margaret.
Hi. I was wondering, I'm getting a second opinion on my leg I'm having real problems with, and I was wondering if you see anything on that.
Can you be are you able to be a little more specific about what's going on, Mary Margaret?
I had a knee replacement, and the knee replacement's gone bad, and I can't walk. It's slid back and over, and the first doctor told me that it's a very serious operation and basically scared my family to death.
Oh, boy. Okay, so what I'm seeing is that you're going to have the work done and that you're going to be okay and everything's going to be, I want to say you'll be able to walk in a more balanced way or move in a more balanced way. Balance is something that's coming up that's very important. Which leg did you say it was by chance? Was it
my
your
right.
left? Your
no,
right.
my right.
Okay. Oh, you're right. Okay. So there's, I want to say, your left leg is coming to mind for some reason that it also needs attention, not in the same way, but because you may not be walking enough or because you're in pain, that you've still got to put some work into taking care of your other leg too. That's what's coming up actually in regards to your left leg. So make sure you take care of your other leg just as well. For some reason, that's like super important, like that it'll help you heal faster or something like that. But as far as I'm able to see, there's nothing that says that there's anything bad about it or that there's anything going to go wrong, or there's nothing negative that I'm detecting about going in to have this done. Now, when the doctor spoke to you, do you mind if I ask, did he give you a reason to be concerned that would be like above and beyond what anybody else would have done, like if it was the same situation? Or did your family just take it like extra like extra seriously?
Well, he basically told me that I would lose a lot of blood. I was a lot heavier at the time. I've lost some, but he wanted me to lose like 100 pounds, and I haven't lost that much. But I'm at the point where when I had my legs done, I think I weighed more than I do now, when I had them done the first time. But I don't know if he told me that I could not wake up or I could wake up with no leg. And that's what.
Okay.
So that's.
Yeah, that's super scary. Well, it's nice that he's honest, but wow, that's super scary. I can tell you from my end that what I pick up is mainly to just take care of your other leg too. I mean, that's the only thing that's coming up. Everything else is that it'll come back into balance, and that with a little bit of work, that you'll be just fine. I mean, there's honestly nothing I'm detecting that looks scary or bad. And even with your left leg, that's just a very strong suggestion in terms of maintaining strength once the procedure is finished, but like being prepared in a way where you can get up and moving or become more mobile and more quickly. and
My
without a lot of.
My left leg is actually what keeps my right one from going out. And it's kind of like my right leg's bowed in.
Yeah, so definitely take care of that one. You're probably, and this is what I'm getting now based on what you said, you're probably going to have to do some, take some extra, time to build more strength in your left leg to help you post-operatively with that right leg and recovering because,
Right.
So, for some reason that left leg keeps coming up is like, help me, is the way that comes. Don't forget about that.
Well, thank you, honey. I appreciate it so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you for asking. Be well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Okay, take it easy. I think Lauren is up next here. Lauren? Want to unmute?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
How's it going?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
Are you, you're breathing, maybe move the microphone just a little bit away from your mouth, because I think your breathing is. There you go. Perfect. So, you have a question?
Yes. I was wondering if you can see anything in my energy regarding my move that I'm trying to make.
Okay. Let's see. It looks like. Let me ask you this one because there's an energy that's either non-committal or that I want to say agreements about it aren't very clear. There's some sort of unclarity coming up or some kind of juggling that looks like it's I want to say not something. I want to say non-committal is coming up. Are you in the process of the move already and apprehensive about where you're going, or can you give me just a little bit of information about what's going on?
Basically, my father passed away last July, and so I have to move out of the big place that I'm in now. But I can't really find a place that can suit my needs due to having cerebral palsy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now so what comes up right now is that you're obviously you're not at peace with having to move, and there's a lot of what looks like obstacles, and a lot of burden, and just a lot going on. But mostly that there's not a committed. I want to speak to this non-committal energy. That because you don't have peace with having to move or peace with, the entire situation, and it's a very heavy situation, that aspect of it is where I'm being told needs some help. You will find a place when this committed energy, I want to say, comes forth. I wish that I could express this better in a short period of time. I realize we're on the phone or whatnot. I'm certainly willing to help you, afterwards. But the energy to actually commit to be at peace with I have to move. That's going to make the place that you're going to go to appear. What I get in terms of time, there's so much connected to the number 2. I see 2s all around you. I don't know if that means 2 months or by the 2nd of May that this is going to show up, or 2 weeks that it's going to, that all of this is going to start to come together. But I can say that I do see you, finding a place if that helps. But that focus on committing to being at peace with I have to go, start packing. Let's make we're going to move and find a new place and envision it as beautiful. And I feel that there are parts missing to seeing this move happen because of the non-committal part. I hope that makes sense, Lauren.
All right. Thanks very much.
Okay.
Have a nice night.
My best
Lauren,
wishes. Thank you.
Thank you for calling. Anybody else speak now or forever hold the peace? As we'll wind it up. We'll wind it up a bit early then, if that's it, guys. How would you like to summarize or leave us with any?
Yeah. I guess I want to say that the number one thing to remember when it comes to the natural remedies and spiritual healing is that if you're in need of a prescription or a supplement to assist with a healing condition, that it's really important to understand how it impacts the whole body. Because we talked earlier about how we're individuals, and that each individual is a completely different case than the next. So even internally, not just one part of the medication, like if it's a heart medication, it doesn't affect just the heart. It also affects the kidneys, the liver, the nervous system, the brain in some capacity, and all other systems, whether we experience side effects or not. And with that approach, hopefully we take our health a bit more seriously, that we want to be preventive so that we're not taking these kind of medications because they do affect, more than one thing. And that since we understand that medications and food supplements impact the whole physical body in some way, that also, and we didn't get to go into the spiritual aspect or the mental health aspect of that also needs to be a part of participation with your health program to support healing, because this affects all of our systems too, and helps them to relax and send signals to initiate the brain to send hormones and to do some healing. So, healing, especially in the holistic sense, it's all complementary, and so everything interacts with something. So, always keep in mind just that we're individuals, that each case is different, that when you take something, it doesn't affect just that one thing, it affects everything, whether you have side effects or not, and that you do really want to have some kind of complementary therapy, such as, your crystal healing or your Reiki or something to help support the physical healing. And from that, I think that's very a very solid way to heal thoroughly, and then to keep the state of your health consistent. And that's pretty much that. And thank you so much, Chris. I always love being on your show. I appreciate it.
Tell everybody where they can find you, your website and Facebook.
Oh boy. Okay, so my website is www.violetaura.com. All of my links to my social networks are on the top right of my webpage. Facebook is psychic.violetaura.com. You linked my personal account, which everyone is welcome to. Come join, be a friend. I often, if I post on my personal account, it's different than my page account, and it's always going to be something that's going to be inspiring and encouraging. So you're welcome to come join me. If anybody has any questions, go ahead.
That was the only one that showed up. You know what I mean? Like when you're going to take someone's name, and so I thought, she must have changed it. So I will make sure not to do that next time.
Oh, you're fine. No, you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome to, I'm open to adding, whoever wants to, learn and be part of what I'm doing to help get information out there that's helpful. So I appreciate that a great deal. Always appreciate your listeners who are super supportive. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So hopefully we'll be able to get you back, and, whenever, I know your busy schedule, but whenever that allows, we'd love to have you back. Yeah, and you're pretty good at getting in touch with me when you have a hankering to do a show. So,
thank you.
And enjoy the rest of your spring.
Yes, you too. I'm sure we'll be in touch again shortly because there's just so much going on right now. There are always topics to be, talking about to help get people informed and stuff like that, and readings to do. So, we'll be in touch again soon, hopefully.
That's super duper. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. Contact me if you have any questions, and I'll do what I can.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to get a song on here, and then we'll figure out if we're staying or going, you guys. So I think we're going to be wrapping after this song, though. Thanks again, Violet, and here we go. Stop that so loud. Okay, guys, we're out of here. We'll see you back tomorrow with Nick Fox. We're going in 3, 2, 1. See you guys.